Surf nymphs were influential in questioning the intersection between attitudes and style of surfing and ethos and mystic style of nymphs. Their counterculture was short-lived and often expressed through small, ephemeral movements, and art often remained poorly or undocumented, rendering it forgotten by art history. In this project, we will attempt to historically frame and locate the roots of surf nymph, its ethos, and whether or not the practitioners of surf nymph are still practicing today. Surf nymph, much of the time, took the installation out of the gallery space and into the world. Lydia Novitska's installation Breeze, I Stare Across Oceans to the Antarctic, combines the flowy, ethereal style associated with the nymph, having been touched by the salty, delicate sea breeze. The installation, which worked from the basis of the built and natural environment, seems to be touched by the salt air and burnt by the sun, as mollusks and crustaceans decompose in the light. Novitska highlights the human hand's influence on the natural environment by orchestrating a performance of several yachts which bounce on the horizon line, simultaneously creating a definitive endpoint of the install, but inferring the infinite nature of the sea. Panadol, My Head, Heart Hurts, which features Panadol pushed into the side of the pier, waits the install in an emotional crescendo at the tip of the pier, emotionally juxtaposing the endlessness of the ocean and the wait to stay right there at the end of the pier. The overarching element of the entire install is a singular lit tea candle, which infers the start and finish of the install. When the flame finally diminishes, the install was promptly packed up and the pier was left. Punk music can be seen as the soundtrack of surfing, and the attitudes expressed through the music were often communicated through the surf nymph's artistic practice. Johan de Kleur expresses the dissonance felt by artists in the workforce and the disenfranchisement often felt by employees under capitalism in his install Fuck You, Quitting. The work took place in the cage space. De Kleur deliberately left the lights off to create an austere environment, and at 3 p.m. each day, No Wave Band, capital No, performed an undocumented noise performance. At the end of the show, on the final day, de Kleur quit his job when the noisy droning of capital No soundtracking the screaming match between de Kleur's boss and de Kleur himself. The performances were surrounded by emissions of disgust for his job. A singed tracksuit pant weighted to the ground by rocks and wet shirt, which sat flat on the ground, was finally gradually turned to mold as the install grew old. The entire install was weighted by the esoteric remnants of de Kleur's youth, often having been distressed, destroyed, or simply embedded in a prison of concrete. Nihilism and air of futility is translated through many of the works, as can remain half-executed and often disregarded. A prime example of this is Can't Be Fucked, Pushpins, where the letters CBF remain partially pushed into the wall. These barely measure 20 centimeters, making the letters hardly legible. After quitting his job, de Kleur left the city, destroying his phone, the only communication being to the gallerists, instructing them to promptly destroy the work. He hasn't been heard from since. De Kleur's band, capital No, can also be seen to have profoundly shaped no wave and ambient music which succeeded him. De Kleur, through his often poorly or undocumented performances, explored the liminal space between the spatial and sonic. Using feedback loops and one Yamaha PSR 270 keyboard, viewers have recollected performances in which de Kleur would turn off his keyboard and begin to bash the keys in a rhythmic sense, with the drone of a feedback loop as the backtrack. Often de Kleur would kick push or simply topple an amplifier in order to release a discordant ringing to the audience. Furthermore, the spatial ideas in regard to these feedback loops became a primary concern of de Kleur's musical practice, and whilst performing, he would often move the amplifiers and keyboards around the room in order to capture different sounds for the feedback loop. Possibly the most influential and well-regarded performance was Chain, in which de Kleur set up a line of amplifiers leading to the toilet of the venue, all connected to microphones leading to the next amplifier. De Kleur locked himself in the cubicle, reading poetry through a cup to the microphone, which dissipated itself into the audience. Viewers of this performance described it as challenging the way in which barriers between audiences and performers are constructed. Alternatively, surf nymphs can be seen to have been narrating their interest and love of the ocean. This is a conceptual hallmark of Audrey Locke's work and is especially evident in the work Calm Boat, Tea Candles, where a doily is supported by a man-made salt water tank. Tea candles are dropped into the water until the doily eventually sinks at the weight of the candles. Furthermore, the motions and ideas of the ocean are expressed in the work Returning Mineral Water to Ocean, in which the artist returns 100 litres of bottled mineral water to the ocean. The artist, through this body of work, exemplifies the surf nymph's obsession of working outside the gallery space, and furthermore implicates their rejection of traditional modes of working and the white cube space. Locke dissolves the archaic notion that artists simply belong within these traditional spaces in many off-site shows. Her work Vault, in the show The World is Flat with Jagged Edges, exemplifies the interplay between traditional modes of making and viewing as tinfoil descends from shower curtains, dissolving into a leg harness as it lays in a basin. The tinfoil, Locke explains, when documented, glows in the light, appearing almost as silver or another iridescent material. However, when approached with an inquisitive eye, it is merely tinfoil. The work was only shown for 2 days, a handful of people only having seen it. The surf nymph's practices are difficult and tenuous to recollect and historicize. However, as we are beginning to discover, there is more and more evidence of influence on art history than previously thought.